Good evening, good folks, and welcome to the City of Muskegon City Commission General Session for this Tuesday, July 9th, 2024. Before we get on with our business, just want to remind folks that we do have a few different public comment periods throughout our meeting, one of which is towards the beginning of the meeting, and that's on that's on agenda items, so it's specific to any agenda item. We do also have a couple of public hearings that will be happening, and so you have an opportunity to speak during the public hearing on those specific items then. So if you do have a form or question to speak on those items, I'm not going to call you up at the beginning of the meeting. I'll call you up when we get to the public hearings. And then at the end of the meeting, we have public comment on any topic that you wish to share with the commission. Note during public comments, an opportunity for you all, whether you're in person or you want to phone in, we will have a phone number at the bottom of the screen when it's that time. But it's an opportunity for the public to share your thoughts and input with the City Commission. It's not necessarily a time for back and forth with the commissioners or myself or Q&A. We can arrange that separately. During public comment, you'll have up to 3 minutes to provide your remarks. There are forms at the back of the room, so if you are in person wishing to give public comment, I encourage you to complete that form at the back of the room. Provide your name and home address. Note I will not be sharing your home address nor asking you to share your home address publicly. That's for our records. And before we get started with a brand presentation, I'm going to ask, we're going to have prayer and pledge of allegiance. If you wish to join us in either of those activities, I ask you to stand if you're so able to do so. And we're going to be led in prayer by, where'd that go? Pastor Jeff Helbert from Grace Memorial Baptist Church. Welcome, Pastor.
Thank you. Let us pray. Father in heaven, I thank you for these men and women gathered here to do the business of this city. I pray you would give them wisdom to know how to address the many issues they must deal with as they work to ensure the economic growth of their great city, by planning not just for today or next year, but for the years to come. I pray you give them the grace to deal with the issues of making Muskegon a community with good roads and parks and safe streets, and to promote activities that encourage community and belonging. I pray you give them the mercy to work together despite any differences they may have, so they can make decisions that make our great city even better. And Lord, I thank you for those that are here to bring their thoughts and ideas before this meeting. A big part of a healthy city is the engagement of its citizens, and we are blessed to have such citizens. Father, bless this meeting and those involved in the precious name of Christ. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor. May we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Kilgo?
Here.
Commissioner Keener? Absent. Commissioner German?
Here.
Commissioner Gorman?
Here.
Commissioner Cochin?
Here.
Vice Mayor St. Clair?
Here.
Thank you. All right, before we get on with public comment on agenda items, we do have a presentation, an exciting presentation with much work going into this process. And so we have brand presentation being reported out or led by our community engagement manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Deborah Sweet. I am the Community Engagement Manager for the City of Muskegon. Tonight, we are going to be presenting to you a brand kit to rebrand the City of Muskegon. So in front of you on the screen, you can see the current City of Muskegon logo that has been in use for many decades, and this is the logo that we will be replacing. Just to point out before we begin, everybody knows and is aware of the Watch Muskegon logo, and we've gotten many questions about this. This logo is not going anywhere. This has never been the City of Muskegon's official logo, and we will still be using it alongside of our new brand. So today we're going to give you an overview of the staff recommended City of Muskegon brand kit and all of the engagement process that has gone into this and the elements that are within the brand. Presenting with me today is Don Kalis. Don, you can come up here if you'd like. Don is the owner of Kindred Marketing Agency. That is a business here in the City of Muskegon. And Don is also a neighbor from Beechwood Bluffton. So you can sit, you don't have to stand up the whole time if you want to. Okay. As an overarching project summary, we went through many steps here. The first thing was that our city commission approved the branding contract in our engagement plan with Kindred Marketing Agency, and then an outline of the engagement that we were going to be doing throughout this process. After that was approved, we went into project planning internally to make sure we had all of our ducks in a row, and then we went into an extensive community engagement process. That is bolded and has an asterisk next to it because we're going to go into more detail about that. Then we worked on creating the brand story, we created designs, then we went into brand review work, and now we are here today on number 7 to make a recommendation to the City Commission for the new brand. After that, we will have a rollout of the brand throughout the city in the next, hopefully, coming weeks. So at the very beginning of the community engagement process, our first step that we went through was having 11 individual interviews with our elected and appointed officials. So each of you, and then Commissioner Keener, along with our outgoing commissioners at the time, and then Manager Seifert and Deputy City Manager Leanne Mikesell. Outside of that, we had 2 city staff focus group, one with our senior leadership team and one with our frontline staff, which is our internal communications committee. We also held 2 large community focus groups. One was at the Chamber of Commerce and one was at our central fire station. Then we also held 1 large business focus group, which was packed and so much fun. After that, we held 46 mini interviews with residents. We had originally discussed going through and having additional groups or organizations throughout the city hosting mini focus groups. We didn't have any interest in that outside of one knitting group, which was not in the city, so we did not go forward with that. But we did make up for that by going out and having these additional mini interviews that our community engagement team went over with each of these residents. After that, we had 2 focus groups with some students from Muskegon Public Schools. We had a group from the middle school and a group from the high school. Those were very fun and very informative for us. Then we took all of the data from, I think that was like 70 hours of data gathering and learning about what the residents wanted and how they saw the city, and we created the brand survey. So our brand survey was published through Connect Muskegon, which is our community engagement hub. We paid for some social ads to get some additional people throughout the city to complete that. We shared it in our electronic newsletters, and then we actually put an insert inside of our mailed newsletter that goes to every address in the city and encouraged people to return those. There's obviously also a QR code in there so people could do it online. And then the survey was available both in Spanish and English. The survey asked questions that of the greater public to help us confirm all of the data that we heard in that sample size of those smaller, more in-depth groups. So I'm going to go over some of the answers here. We shortened this down, analyzed a lot of the data, and I'm going to tell you guys how the feedback that we received in that survey is represented in the new brand that we're going to show you in a little bit. So this first slide here is showing the percentage of residents who responded positively or neutrally to the importance of certain city features throughout the city. So what I like to point out here is that of the 11 or so features that are listed on there, almost all of them have a 90% like or greater. So that shows to me, and it showed to the design team and our senior staff, that there's not one defining feature of the city of Muskegon that really sticks out and represents our city. We're made up of many, many features that a lot of people throughout the community love. The next question reflected how residents responded about the history of the city of Muskegon being reflected in our new brand. So 72% of people said, yes, we care about that. So I would encourage you to pay attention to some of the historical elements that we represent in our new logo, along with some of the fonts that we have. In addition to that question, we had 71% of residents who responded positively or neutrally that they are happy living in the city. And you can pay attention to the tone of this within our brand story. I will point out that these responses are specific to our resident-only responses, whereas what's published on our Connect Muskegon page is all stakeholder responses. So those are people who self-identified as living in the city or not in the city only. the next question was, do you agree or disagree that we are not just another coastal town? So 69% of our residents said, correct, we're not just another coastal town. So you'll notice that the main features of the brand that we're presenting to you do not highlight our basic water features. It's not water, and it's not sun, and it's not dunes, because our residents believe that we're more than that. The last question on the survey asked residents to rank some example logos from other local municipalities, and we asked them to rank them what their favorites were, and the top three were pretty close, but we'll point out some features of these top three logos that people really that they liked, that you can find represented in the new brand. So the City of Detroit was number one. You'll find that the City of Detroit logo and represented in our logo are bold features. It's very literal, and there's some duotone elements. For the City of Holland, you'll notice that there's parts that make up of a whole, and it's very iconic. And then the City of Grand Rapids, it's very abstract, artful, and very colorful. Oh, I guess I missed a question. So there was one question at the very beginning, but we kind of swapped it around here. Is the percentage of residents who responded positively or neutrally to the following terms? So those are over there on the left-hand side. So we have diverse, resilient, fun, friendly, welcoming, scrappy or gritty, collaborative, and safe. So you'll find that these tone words that are over on the left and the ones that we came across that we in our conversations on the right are tone words that represent the city, and that you'll find those reflected in our brand story. So what is a brand story? Don?
Well, let me tell you, I know that. So a brand story is essentially a short written narrative that's meant to be inspirational. It's meant to get residents and all of us excited about what we are all about as a city. And ultimately we start, it's considered the non-visual side of the brand, because visual, as you'll see in a moment here, we have a great logo that we're presenting, but it can be subjective. Visuals are subjective. What colors does Mayor Johnson like? Well, that's subjective somewhat, right? So, but a brand story is what we use to kind of define, before we get into any visuals, what we want to say about ourselves. And speaking as a lifelong Muskegon guy, I get kind of tired of other communities telling our story for us, right? Because there's a lot of outside communities, people who aren't really familiar with the way Muskegon is, the city of Muskegon is today, that are kind of driving that narrative, and it's kind of time for us to do that ourselves. And what we do is we start with, after all of that great research that Deborah went through, we use that information to help craft some of those words that she recited a previous slide, that we use that to feed our brand story. And then once that's refined, then only then do we go into the visuals. And you'll see over time this brand story that you're going to read and hear in a moment will drive a lot of the written elements that we'll see throughout websites and social media and other things as well. And then, as I mentioned, it really helped us to define some of the visual elements of the brand. And Manager Seiferth is going to put his best radio voice on and read the brand for us, the brand story. And I'll put it on screen as well.
We're Muskegon, the shoreline city. Throughout our neighborhoods and along the waterfront and into downtown, you can feel an undercurrent of energy and a vibe that's unapologetically Muskegon. Things are different now. If your view of Muskegon is decades, years, or even months old, we're sure it's outdated, because we aren't the same place today as we were yesterday. We have new and flourishing business districts and growing population of people who call this place home. Some things have stayed the same, like our sense of community pride and natural resources that invite new adventures every day. There's a vibrancy you can feel when you walk through our neighborhoods. We've made sacrifices, overcome challenges, revitalized our city, and turned the old into something new. We're resilient. Whether you work here, live here, or explore here, you'll see something that runs deeper. You'll discover that in Muskegon, hard work is rewarded, that our people are diverse, inclusive, and as real as they come, that relationships are valued, and a smile and a wave are contagious. We won't always agree, but that's okay. Diverse life experiences create balance. Our story's come a long way, and the city is committed to making the next chapter our best one yet.
Thank you. And as Manager Seifert mentioned, our in that brand story, we are a mosaic of people. There's a lot. I don't care what your political beliefs are, your age, race, sexual orientation, gender. People are welcome here, and we are a wonderful group, kind of a mosaic of a community. And so, how do you represent that, both in a visual way, and as Deborah mentioned, we chose to use a mark that is meant to be inclusive to our entire city, and we use that philosophy as you'll see in the brand. Let's watch the video. So very iconic, very strong. It's meant to be, not that. Let's see how we go. Let's watch it again. There we go. Okay, so thank you. So as you can see here on screen are a few uses of potentially how the brand could be used. So one of my favorite parts about a brand is seeing it come to life, right? So top left of the screen is the billboard that's entering downtown as you drive in. You can see some of the icons in the background there, the various mosaic tiles that are representing parts of our city and parts of the community amenities that their research showed was important. There's flags, business cards, multicolored patterns we can use. We can use it as a simple flat color, as you see in the potential street pole banner in the bottom left. So the brand itself, because we worked really hard to make this something that, even though we know, in fact, our brand story says we can't make everybody happy, we know that. Our community is stronger because of that, because of our diverse thoughts and ideas on things. And so we're trying to reflect that in this brand and give the city something that, something in here will hopefully resonate with everyone. And as you can see, so here's kind of a look with the different icons. And this is kind of the primary lockup of the brand, the primary color, but as you'll see in a moment, we have multiple colors that are in the brand recommendation. And the top row represents each of the 4 wards. So, and you'll talk more about those in a minute, Deborah will. And in the bottom icons are, we got a nod to history with the clock tower. We have activities, we have nature, we have neighborhoods and family and school kind of represented in here. And over time, we're going to, in an exciting way, we're going to rotate out the icons to keep this brand alive. And we want to make this timeless, and we want it to apply to everybody. So I'm sure there are, probably as I speak, there are comments online right now about how the icon should be something new and different, and that's welcome. I mean, bring it, because we want that. We're going to, over time, potentially look at some of that. Color palette lockups, each of the departments are going to have their own branded color scheme to work from. Maybe over time, they'll each have their own set of icons, who knows? So we have, no need to go through those. You guys can see those later and read who chose which color. I don't know how they chose, if it was a contest or favoritism, but it's a variety of logos, and we're also doing that we don't have today yet because we're waiting until this is approved. We are also doing the police and fire department new badges and icons to kind of represent our new city brand as well. So, and naturally, any good logo, you want to have it work as a simplest form. What happens when this thing is scaled down on the side, side of an ink pen or something? Those icons, of course, will break up and not be always visible. So we've thought of that and created a set of icons and logos that will work in those simple formats, embroidery, things like that. Same with black and white, and this is all part of the brand kit that, upon your approval, that we'll provide in greater detail. And I'll pass the mic back to Deborah to talk about the icons.
Thank you. Thank you. So as Don noted, across the top of the logo in this order creates an M, and the top 4 will always represent our 4 wards throughout the city. So currently right now you can see on the far left represents Ward 1, that yeah, woohoo, over there. That is Muskegon Community College. Ward 2 with Commissioner German, woohoo, is the Together Muskegon Rising sculpture that's downtown Muskegon. In Ward 3 for Commissioner Keener is a house with trees because they're very neighborhood heavy. And then in Ward 4 for Commissioner Cochin are the lighthouses over near Pierre Marquette. So these are 4 icons that we have right now to represent our 4 wards. As Don noted, these can stay the same or they can rotate throughout seasons or when something new or iconic comes along. This is meant to be very versatile and can be changed out as needed. Up next, you'll see some seasonal icons. So the lovely Michigan here, we get all 4 seasons. So throughout different seasons, we'll have different representations up there. So we have a leaf on the left, a snowflake, a spring flower, and for summer, some sunshine. As we noted, it was important for residents to see some history in our brand, and we know that the logo that you see here and up there on the dais is something that's meant a lot to some people and to a lot of people. And to pay an ode to that, we represented our first art or history icons with the 3 icons that are actually in that. So it's still represented in a different way in our new brand. Plus, they are really iconic pieces. Next thing, we can absolutely add to this. I've had a couple of requests already for beer glasses, so we'll have to see what you guys think about that. So we have some fun cultural icons here. We have some music notes, a bicycle, and a playground. Very important features for our city. These are some bonus ones that you can see mixed in with different parts of the brand. Like I said, we can add different ones for different pieces throughout the city. So how did we get here? Who picked this? So as Don mentioned, there were 2 parts. We did the written brand story first, and then we did the visual assets based off of that brand story. So originally, Manager Seifert and I looked at the brand story, we reviewed it, we edited it, and then we had our senior staff look at it, all these different things. But the next part is really my favorite part, is that within the community engagement outline that we discussed way back in, I think it was October of 2023, we talked about having 4 community champions that would help us review this. So to make sure it wasn't biased and it was just Deborah's favorite logo, we pulled in 4 community champions, 3 of which who are here in the audience with us today, who are going to come up and say hi if they don't have stage fright. And they got to look at this. We had different variations of logos and options for them to look at, and we had a really wonderful 1.5-hour, 2-hour conversation talking through the different variations and why we liked this one and why they liked this one and how they could see it being used in our community. In addition to our community champions, we had our senior leadership team look at it. The internal C2EM or Community Engagement Marketing Communications team looked at it. And then it was showed at the Legislative Policy Committee as well. I was happy to report that I have not heard any crazy feedback. Everybody seems to like this, like the versatility of it, and I'm very excited about that. So I think... Oh, summary here. I know you guys said yesterday you like to see all those community engagement hours and what happened and what we did. So this is a little table here just to represent. In total, city staff had 70 hours of public engagement opportunities. You can see what those things were on the right, and then the total number of people who were reached through those activities. So we're just over 1,270 hours. All right, here we go. So heads up, guys, you guys are going in order. So Ward 1, Ward 2, okay. So Chris Carter is not here today. He works at GH Imaging and has been a longtime resident of the city of Muskegon. He provided a quote for us, so I'll read it for you. He was bummed he couldn't be here, but we were very grateful to have his expertise on the committee. He has years and years of graphic experience. He's a national rep for GH Imaging, and he was very confident and very excited to see this go up around town. So his quote says, "I was honored to be included in this decision, considering this will be part of something that I can be a part of long after I am no longer here. My seeds will know that their heritage was a part of the history of Muskegon. Being a simple man, the simplicity attracted me to this one. Muskegon has been a working town, down to earth people, and not pretentious. Pretentious. Is that what that is? Yeah, that is what it is. Pretentious. We'll see what that is. Sarah, are you here? Awesome. So this is Sarah Sherwood. She is representing Ward 2.
Hi, as Deborah said, I'm Sarah Sherwood, proud resident of Ward 2. I'm honored to speak tonight in support of the new branding for the city of Muskegon. What excites me most about this new design is how it seamlessly blends a modern look with elements that honor Muskegon's rich history. I believe this design showcases the strength and individuality of our neighbors, making the pride we have in our community truly shine through. I am particularly impressed by the city's thoughtful approach to bringing together a wide variety of voices and opinions from our residents. This inclusive process has resulted in a brand that genuinely represents the diverse and vibrant spirit of Muskegon. I believe this new look will not only enhance our city's aesthetic appeal, but also foster a deeper sense of community pride. Personally, being part of this process has been a rewarding experience, and it's inspiring to see our collective efforts reflect the true essence of Muskegon.
Thank you.
Awesome. Next up is Ward 3 Representative Jonathan Wilson. Good luck following that.
Yeah, of course I don't have any prepared remarks, but I'll just say you guys will be proud of the staff in Kendrick Market. They did an amazing job engaging every part of the city, different communities, different neighborhoods, and I was happy to be asked to be a champion. I didn't even really know I was in Ward 3. I just consider myself. You guys are all my commissioners, so I just went along with it. But for me, I was really, of the different logos that were presented, I was really looking at a balance between the aesthetics and the story, along with the functionality of the logo. And I was really trying to see, okay, how is this logo going to look on the side of a truck? So ultimately, we had robust conversation, but we ended up with this one, and we're happy that the city is going along with it, and I support it fully. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Last but not least is Daisy Colcleisure from Ward 4.
Daisy Colcleisure, Ward 4, like Deborah just said. I don't know how I can add much to what my wonderful ward mates just said, but I just want to say thank you very much for inviting me to be part of this process. It really meant a lot. And I'm just really excited as a visual person, as a visual communicator, to see the city of Muskegon communicate clearly, concisely, and with one logo. Deborah had talked in our meetings before about how there were several ways that the city of Muskegon was communicating visually. And I'm just really happy to be part of making that consistent. And I hope everybody enjoys it. Thanks for letting me be part of it.
Thank you.
These people spent quite a bit of hours with me. I love being able to do community engagement work because I leave each meeting with more friends. So thank you to all 4 of them for being part of it. So today, on the consent agenda, we're asking you to approve the brand kit as presented. So Deborah, what's in the brand kit? What are we approving? You're including the brand story that was read to you. You're approving the M mark. You're approving the tagline, which is the Shoreline City, which has not changed. And you're approving the color variations and the fonts that you see within the logo. Next steps, upon your approval, we'll begin a rollout strategy and finalize the brand standards and our logo guidelines and our logo library and all of those things. So we'll have staff awareness, we'll have new accessories, new business cards, anything that you can imagine. We'll also have updates on social media and our website. And over time, very fiscally responsibly, we will be updating different things around the city, whether that be trucks or signs, doors, all of those things. Have no fear, there's no giant purchase of things coming our way. It is within our existing budgets over time. So I think that is all I have to say. So Dawn and I and the community champions are here to get any feedback or answer any questions that you have.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So this is on the consent agenda, so we're going to be voting on it at that point. We are going to open up to questions and comments amongst the commissioners for everyone that's been involved with this process. This also gives an opportunity for anyone in the audience or at home that wishes to phone in their comments, not right this moment, but during the comments on agenda items, because this is an agenda item. So we may be able to get some immediate feedback from folks how they feel about it before the commission decides to formally vote on this. So first, I would just like to say thank you. Thank you so much to everybody involved with this process. I'm really appreciative of the process. That's part of what makes this so exciting for me, that it is born from our community, and we acted with methodically and with intentionality of engaging broad cross sections of our community of all ages and all demographics. And so that's really important, and I appreciate that concerted effort going into this. And I'm thrilled with the output. You know, people are going to have differing views as to, oh, I would do this differently. I like this, but I don't like that. And it's an eye of the beholder. It's going to be subjective. But I really appreciate the process that informed this, that it was organic, and that it is so versatile, that it is so flexible, that it can continue to evolve with our community, and that it is a beautiful reflection of our community in it. And what we have, you know, the basic logo and then the tiles, it shows the magnificent mosaic that is Muskegon. And so I'm really excited about how this can be used and utilized throughout our organization, but also embraced by our community, different organizations or different neighborhood associations, and putting forth their ideas for future tiles that can be incorporated into it. And, you know, we talked recently, too, about a potentially democratic process to pick some tiles, too, going in there to represent the different wards as our city evolves and goes forward. So, again, I just want to say thank you so much. I'm excited to see this moving forward. Yes. So, commissioners, questions, comments?
Just a comment.
Yes, Commissioner German.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Sweet, and for being here. Just more of a comment. Met with you before when you showed me the brand and what you were doing, and it's just really nice to see something that's really acceptable and presenting and inviting that encompasses everyone. And when we talk about the inclusiveness, equitable opportunities for each ward to give input and engagement, using those strategies and practices that you use, it really exemplifies what this city is all about. And this is something that, you know, as a commissioner for the last decade, that really wasn't as popular. But I'm glad that we're making improvements to the city to make everyone feel inclusive and a sense of belonging. But I just kind of jotted some things down, you know, and I was just looking at your strategies, how it includes engagement, digital campaigns, the public events and strategies. Let me see if it's up here. But these strategies, which has created a sense of pride and ownership for our residents to attract visitors and enhance our overall brand image. Again, I'd like to say good job and well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Indeed, here. Vice Mayor St. Clair.
Thanks. I will echo everything that has already been said. I'm really pleased with how inclusive and engaging this process has been. I really like the visual. I like the versatility. I like how colorful or non-colorful it can be depending on how you're looking at it. But I will say I love the brand story. I've heard that a couple of times now, and every time it just kind of gives me chills. It is so spot on of who we are as a community and how we gel together. Even though there's so much diversity and so much hard work that happens, that really at the core, that really spoke to me. So I really, really like that part. And I want to know when I can get that tote bag. Putting in my order right now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor St. Clair. Commissioner Cochin.
Yes. So yeah, again, thank you very much to everything that the staff has done and everything that Kindred Marketing has done. I can tell that you guys put a lot of work into trying to make sure that there was a lot of opportunities for folks to be heard and also represent people. And when you didn't get the opportunity to really do the original plan, you were like, let's do mini sessions and do that. So I really like that you made sure to do that and not just be like, oh, good, we can save time. The first thing that stood out to me, like Vice Mayor Sinclair noted, was that tote bag. I was like, the tote bag is really cute. And the one thing that I think about when I think about Muskegon in all of my travels all over the United States and living is Muskegon is like cozy and warm and homey, and this patchwork reminds me a lot of a quilt. And I don't know if that was intentional, but I think that that's something that really, speaks to me, and I'm hoping it speaks to some of our residents as well, and they can see that. And you guys skipped over the best part. There's a little heart in the middle. Like, that's so cool.
There sure is, yeah.
So, so thank you for everything that you guys did. I did have one question, and I was just kind of wondering, do you guys know offhand, not exact numbers, but do you know where we fell with the budget?
It was a pre-approved contract, so it is not to exceed, I think it was 50,000. Yeah.
So did we go under the budget, or we just meet it?
It was met, yep, as
Okay.
is. Yes.
All right, thank you.
I suspect if we were a different client, he might have been charging us more.
Yeah,
that's what I would
We're going over the hours, so there might have been some donation
Probably quite a bit, I would
going
say.
into this as well. So,
Thank
thank you, Commissioner Cochin. Commissioner Kilgo.
Thank you. To not echo everything that my fellow commissioners and the mayor have said, but when you said other people sometimes try to write Muskegon's story for us, we've been doing some really great things in all different sectors here in the city of Muskegon, and I think with this new logo, with the tiles and the tiles being able to change, and just us rebranding who we already are, keeping the same tagline, Shoreline City, it's just kind of a great symbol of us starting to tell our own story to the rest of our neighbors around the state of Michigan. So for me, I think it's the symbolism. Visually, it looks great. I loved this one, out of different options and stuff like that. So visually, it's great, and it's, able to be changed, and you guys really thought of a lot of different things. So I appreciate all the hard work in this, but I just really like the symbolism of us rolling this out and us telling our own story, because more and more people, oh, this is going on in Muskegon, that's going on in Muskegon, this is just kind of like the stamp that says, please come visit us. Yes, we are here. Oh, we didn't know you had that. Yes, we have this, and our continued growth in the city of Muskegon. So great job, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Kilgo. Commissioner Gorman.
Thank you. Yes, thank you all so much. And as I've been listening, this was such a fun thing to do, and not everything we do in the city is fun. So I'm just so grateful for the process, and even just the story of this process that the commission has heard a lot, but I think it just adds to the levity of what this is. But I just also was wanting to mention and reflecting on, I'm so grateful for all the representation we had from the ward. I was able to sneak into that meeting with you guys, and it was just so clear that you all had built so much trust with each other, and were taking the job so seriously of what you were doing and the decisions you were making. And so I'm so excited for all of you that this is part of your legacy as a resident in our city. So thank you so much for the many hours you spent working with each other to give us such a beautiful project. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gorman. Mr. Manager?
So I just wanted to add some context from having been able to have the privilege to be in the room for a number of these conversations. So I was able to see kind of the first four options, and then the three that the community champion saw. and then the two that we showed to the commission and to the senior staff. The logo that we have before you tonight was the one in each one of those meetings that got people excited and talking. And in none of those meetings did the other groups know what the other groups had liked. And so it was really energizing to see that this is what got people talking. This is what got people imagining, oh, we could do this, we could do that. This is so cool. I love the way this works together. When we showed it to the senior staff, another one that we showed, it was, oh, that's nice. And then this one, I think it was 15 minutes of conversation about, oh, I want this color for my division and this color for my division. And I thought there was going to be boxing in the room for a second. But it was just the energy about what this brand said about the entire community was really cool. So, and it was just the fact that this was the number one pick of everybody that saw it was really cool. So I think that gives us a lot of confidence going forward that, the engagement process that we went through really did work to give us a product that we can be proud of, and that Deborah and her team should be proud of for all the effort and work that they put into it, and Don and his team. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you, commissioners. Any other final thoughts or questions at this time? So just thank you again for the whole process. And it is, so exciting and thrilling how people can get creative and envision, this going here or there or whatnot, and how it can be swapped out and evolving. But you mentioned the heart symbol. So even if it's just the block, people see several different things in it as well, just as the block M, whether you see the heart in the middle, or you see the connection to the Hackley Public Library logo, or if you see the connection to the block M for Big Reds, or you see, the top looking like sailboats that's connected to our tagline, our Shoreline City. So there's so many elements that you see, even if it's just the block. And then you add in the element of having that versatility and creativity and flexibility in the tiles of the mosaic. So it is thrilling and exciting. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right. So, yes. You deserve applause. All right, we're moving on to public comment on agenda items. So if you want to share your own thoughts about this, you may do so. I have one already, and the other two are for the end, or public hearing and end of the meeting. So I've got one form right now to speak on an agenda item, which happens to be this item, and that is Mr. Dave Alexander joining us from the Beechwood Bluffton neighborhood.
Thank you. Mayor, Commissioners, Manager. I'm Dave Alexander, resident of Balcombs Cove, 2964 Lakeshore, Beechwood Bluffton Neighborhood Association. I would like to speak on the agenda item B, the brand kit that we just heard about. I probably have one of the more unique perspectives on our city's brand and image. Been a city resident and homeowner for more than 40 years. I was a community storyteller for 34 years as a journalist at MLive and the Chronicle. And the past 8 years or so, I have been downtown manager, and specifically in the last year, before retiring from this city about a month ago. I was a community engagement specialist and worked with our community engagement team and city staff and Kindred Marketing on this particular project, creating our brand story and the new logo. Our engagement team of city staff and Kindred staffers have done an amazing job, unprecedented in this community, of capturing the vibe and future of Muskegon during what I think is the city's ongoing historic transformation. The Kindred team nailed the storyline. I mean, just nailed it. And created then the visual logo to complement it. That was done, as I said, with unprecedented engagement in groups, one-on-one, and in large groups. All the demographics of the city had been hit upon in terms of seeking, if they wanted to, give us their perspective. Those findings then obviously were tested in that all-city survey that was online and mailed. The logo Kindred presents here by our key managers is clean, it's sophisticated, and at one time simple, but then also very complex. As it was already said, it's versatile and can evolve. And Don and team, a brilliant representation of my city. It does not replace nor compete against Watch Us Go 2.0, Watch Muskegon. It complements it, and that's something that I was involved with from the beginning, both at MLive and in downtown. I implore you to approve this brand kit with a unanimous vote to show your unity and pride that this brand represents and is shown in your citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. It's the only form I have on an agenda item. Is there anyone else that wishes to give public comment on an agenda item at this time? All right, we're going to be going to the phones. Phone number is 231-724-6721. It's a reminder that phone and comments right now are just on agenda items, whether it's the brand presentation that was just done and is on the consent agenda, or if it's another item on the agenda. And again, that phone number is 231-724-6721. All right, no calls?
No, Mayor.
Okay. Now we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Commissioners, you've had an opportunity to review the consent agenda. Are there any items that you wish to have removed for separate consideration and vote? Vice Mayor St. Clair.
Item I.
Okay. Any other items? Commissioner Kilgo.
Items K and items L.
Any other items? If there are no other, then I would entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented, minus items I, K, and L.
So moved.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Vice Mayor St. Clair, supported by Commissioner German. No discussion? Roll call.
Vice Mayor St. Clair.
Yes.
Mayor Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgo.
Yes.
Commissioner German.
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman.
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Did we interrupt for 1 second?
Oh, yes. Now that it's been formally adopted and approved.
Oh, nice.
There you go. All right.
I think the one in front did.
I like the one in front. It's definitely number
Come on, champion.
Yeah.
All right, item I, lead service line replacements. Vice Mayor St. Clair.
I move to approve award of the lead service line replacements drinking water fund project number 7832-01 to Gustafson HDD contingent upon successful financial arrangements with the CWSRF program, and authorize the clerk to sign the included resolution.
Support.
All right, motion by Vice Mayor St. Clair, supported by Commissioner German. Welcome, sir. If you care to introduce yourself.
Evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Dan Vanderhyde, Director of Public Works for the city.
Good evening. So, are you going to report out on this item for us?
I am. So this is one of the final steps in approving a DWRF. I apologize for the reference to CWSRF, but this is a drinking water project. This is, as you may recall, I've been before you a couple times about this. This in particular item is for the approval to replace additional lead service lines throughout town, with the included change order to the tune of just under $8 million worth. And this is again funded through the Drinking Water Revolving Fund program at the state level, which is backed up by some federal dollars from the bipartisan infrastructure law and the ARPA funding of a couple years ago. And the city has received an offer of 50% principal forgiveness associated with this request, and the remainder would be a 20-year bond at a 2% interest rate. And similar to some of the other requests that have come through like this, it does come with a debt service fee, an increase to the debt service fee associated with that half that will be bonded. Despite what it says in the packet there, that was an early estimate. We're estimating that that will be $1.21 per resident per month once the full payment of that bond comes into effect. Again, this is in particular an award to Gustafson to do the work. You'll see two other items on the agenda tonight that are related to that. So an item specifically related to approving the bond sale, as well as the other component that will be funded by that bond sale, which is work to the NIMS elevated storage tank. One other just point of clarification, the recommended motion referred to a resolution, but in fact it is award of a contract, and we're requesting that staff be allowed to enter into that contract.
Thank you, Director Vanderhyde. Given that legal counsel, there's no modification to the motion need to be made. We're good with the motion as presented?
It was just to authorize staff to sign. I'm fine with that.
Okay. Just want to confirm. Vice Mayor St. Clair?
Thank you. I know we've talked about this quite a lot over several months now, but the one thing that I want to make sure gets put at the top, because there were words that are going to alarm people, like increase in fees, but can you spend a little bit more time talking about the 50% match, or what is the terminology for?
Sure. Principal forgiveness is
Thank
the
you.
specific term.
There we go.
Yeah. So this is the city's under a couple of different rules that require us to replace all of the lead service lines in town. This program, the Drinking Water Revolving Fund program, is the way that the state has elected to distribute most of the funds that they have control of associated with efforts like ours to remove and replace lead service lines. So we annually now are applying for funding through this program. It is in general a loan program or a bond program, but with the infusion of bipartisan infrastructure law money and ARPA funds from the federal level, the state has been able to offer what we call principal forgiveness, which is effectively a grant. So the best way to think of it is we're awarding a contract worth just under $8 million. The city will only have to pay for half of that, about $4 million. And that $4 million will be bonded. So we'll pay for it over the course of the next 20 years in installments, just like you would a mortgage or a car loan, things like that. It's really the best program that's available to us right now to help replace those lead service lines. It's the most advantageous to the city in terms of the amount of funding offered. So while we do have to sign up for that loan, and that does impact our citizens, as I said, to the tune of $1.21 per month as we estimate it, it really is the most cost-effective way to replace these service lines that we have available to us right now. And as I said, it's a wonderful and good thing that we are replacing them. It's a matter of health and safety. It's also a matter of we are required to replace them by the state and even the federal government. So making progress on those goals is important, and this is the best way we have to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor St. Clair. Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Kilgo.
Thank you. Speaking of requirements, can you just touch on, will you touch on where we're at as far as timeline and the state's deadline or requirement, and maybe even compared to other municipalities if you know about others?
Sure. So, through the state, we are required to have all of the service lines replaced by 2039. So 15 years from now. That requirement started 5 years ago. The federal government is in the process of finalizing a rule that would require us to have them all replaced within 10 years from now. So we are likely losing 5 years of that clock. Still an achievable goal, I guess I'll say, as long as the funding holds out. But that's the state that we're in, I guess. In terms of locally what we are up against and what we have done, so we estimate that about 11,000 of our 12,000 water services in town started with some impacts from lead materials. That doesn't mean that they're completely lead. Most of them, in fact, have a small piece of the service line that is made up of lead. We test the water regularly and have never had any issues that suggest that that piece has been a problem for any of our customers or residents. But it is still there, and we want to get rid of it. We have, since starting this process, we've replaced about 2,000 of those service lines. So with 11,000 to start with, we've done 2,000. We anticipate that this project would get us just under another 1,000. And combined with other monies that we've sold the bonds for, received grants for, and haven't yet done, this will put us pretty close to 4,000 services replaced when this is complete. So 4 out of 11,000. So a substantial number. We're making good progress, but still a very long way to go.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kilgo? Commissioner Cochin?
You touched on most of what I was going to ask, but I guess I just want to thank you guys for doing the hard work to try to make sure that we get the funds to be able to do this, because I know I had several residents reach out to me very concerned about the possibilities of water rates going up, and I think $1.28 average is a much more digestible amount, because this work does need to be done and it is really important, and like you said, it does, like, it's being required of us to do. So I just wanted to thank you for doing your due diligence to try to get that. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. And if I can just use this as a shameless plug, I guess I would encourage any of our residents or any of you all to continue to advocate to our local leaders, state leaders, federal leaders, that particularly for cities like Muskegon and other older cities in Michigan and other Midwest states, this is a large problem, a large money problem, and the more that we can raise the alarm to those folks and continue to help them understand that it's impacting folks in our communities with rising rates and things of that nature, that additional assistance is always beneficial and welcome. So.
Yes. Hear, hear. And we just happened to emphasize that to Senator Peters' office, and I know I've had conversations with Congressman Skolton about this in the past, and the Great Lakes St. Lawrence City's initiative, of which we remember when we went to DC for Great Lakes Day and advocacy. This was one of the items that we were advocating on to various different Congress members and senators about having one, more resources, two, more flexibility, instead of putting everyone on a quick timeline that's going to definitely have an inflationary effect on the services and equipment needed to do these replacements. So being more mindful as we move forward. But thank you for your efforts. Commissioner German or Gorman, do you have anything to ask or add on this at this time? Okay.
Just looking at the, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Director Van Hyde, for the report. I say we did go with the lowest bidder, which is good. And last year when they were doing Sanford Street, the issue with replacing the water lines, residents, wasn't comfortable or didn't want the construction workers to come in, and I think it was the mayor, the manager, somebody reached out to me, and I talked to a couple residents to assure them that this is a necessity that has to be done. So that worked out well. As the commissioner in that ward, I can't stress it enough how important our drinking water is. And even though the cost may be somewhat, a little higher for the fees or whatever, the quality of life of having, safe water, drinking water is essential to every family. So publicly, I'd just like to state that. What is the timeline once this is approved, getting this project done?
Yeah, good question. First of all, thank you for your help in those efforts last year, and that is an important point that as we try to spend these monies, we do need folks to answer the door. We're just there to replace the service and nothing else. But in terms of the timeline, so with this program, once the bond is sold, the contractor has, or we have, I guess I should say, 3 years to spend that money, and we offer the contractor the same convenience. So essentially, in order to keep prices low, we offer them that same 3-year window. We put some requirements on it that they have to do a certain number at a time. Once they start working their way down a certain block, they've got to complete that block and things like that. But we do want it to be flexible so that they can fit it in amongst their other projects and keep those prices low. So it could be up to 3 years from now before folks in these in the Oakview and Sheldon Park neighborhoods, see this contractor. But when you do start seeing city folks or the contractor come through, that's what we're doing, and we would appreciate assistance.
And I do have a question. It's pertaining to the water line, but on Sanford Street, a couple years before, a water line was replaced at a resident, and due to the construction and the recommendation of replacing the lines last year, they did not go into that resident and replace that line. So I guess my question would be, were they supposed to go ahead and do that under the recommendations of the state prior to that resident already having their line replaced?
Not familiar with that particular situation. I'd be happy to get an address from you afterwards and look into that. I will say that prior to some of the rules being put in place, we did replace what we call the public side of the water service separately, and some residents may have already replaced what we call the private side, basically a dividing line at the sidewalk. Under new rules, we're required to replace the entire water service all the way into the basement of the home. So it may be a situation where some portion of that work was already done, and we only needed to complete a portion of it, or maybe that particular service was done by our own crews. For example, in the day-to-day business, we replace service lines due to low flow, due to breaks, due to multiple issues. So it's possible that someone has already had their service replaced for that reason.
Okay, yeah, when I find out more, I get more information, I'll reach out to you. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Commissioner German. Thank you, Director Vanderhyde. If there's nothing else, roll call, please.
Commissioner Cochin?
Yes.
Vice Mayor St. Clair?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgo?
Yes.
Commissioner German?
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next item, K. Concur with CRC recommendation to make appointment to Planning Commission. Commissioner Kilgo.
I move to appoint LaShaye Simmons to the Planning Commission as citizen at large with a term ending of January 31st, 2027.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Kilgo, supported by Vice Mayor St. Clair. So we don't necessarily have a staff person report out on this. We discussed this last night at our work session and made built consensus on appointing Ms. Simmons to this position, and so now it's on our agenda for formal action and adoption. So, Commissioner Kilgo.
Yeah, I do have something for the city manager, so I would like him in there for that. So I pulled it for two reasons. The first reason is to let the public know that every year there may be positions on different committees that we have One of our really important committees is this one, the Planning Commission, that we look for a diversity of residents from all over the city, not just from one section of the city. So make sure to stop in to City Hall, or you can get that information from one of your commissioners or the city clerk, because we do have positions come up every year in one way or the other. But the second thing that I wanted to say was I know that we normally review these in a certain process, like we looked at some folks at the beginning of the year. Just for the commissioners to be able to do their due diligence for future appointees, if we do one outside of a normal time, if the commissioners could have more time to review the candidates. Other than 5 or 10 minutes, I really don't feel is enough time for us to dig in and review some of these candidates, just because some of these positions, this particular one goes to 2027. So that's a long time. So we want to make sure that we're making the right decision with the people that we fill these positions with. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Kilgo. We had considerable discussion last night, but is there any additional thoughts before we vote? Commissioner Cochin.
I just wanted to say that I do kind of echo Commissioner Kilgo's sentiment that having a little bit more time in the future would definitely be beneficial to make sure that we have time to amply dig into the resumes and everything about the individuals who are applying.
Commissioner German.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I concur as well. And looking at the candidates, yesterday we had some discussion, and then there was some concerns, which I kind of felt that should not have really been discussed at that point in time due to certain situations. But I think it warranted an eye-opener to look at who we put on these committees, because we want to make sure we choose candidates that's going to serve with integrity. Whatever's in their background, if it's not something that's really damaging, that would reflect a bad image on our decisions as commissioners and the communities. I just want to make sure that, like Commissioner Kilgo and Cochin mentioned, enough time to just kind of review the applications, and if we need to do research, just if anyone knows anything, just kind of bring that to the commission's attention ahead of time.
Thank you, Commissioner German.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts at this time? So I'll just share with regard to the process in terms of why it was brought. So typically this go to the CRC. The CRC has a separate meeting from the work session, and they make the recommendation to the City Commission. At the beginning of the year, the CRC reviewed all the applications. Almost every one of the applicants that we reviewed last night was in the packet back in January. And so at that time, we did not make appointments. We left one vacancy intentionally on the Planning Commission because we were looking and acting with intentionality to find someone from the east side of our city, so that we have a planning commission that is more broadly diverse and reflective of the community in which it serves. And so that was an intentional part in our doing, but at the same time we'd encourage people to recruit and encourage folks from the east side of the city to apply. And so we were approaching 7 months in with that vacancy. The Vice Mayor St. Clair had shared with me, who was our chair of the Community Relations Committee, shared with you last week that we had no applicants for from the east side. And so upon learning of a person being in the east, in Jackson Hill and being a qualified candidate, in my estimation, being a qualified candidate for it, I invited that person to apply and wanted to avail ourselves of the opportunity last night to consider that person. All of the other applicants were being presented because technically the position is open to anybody from the city of Muskegon, and so all of them were being presented. Almost all of them had been in the packet previously, but I do understand the desire for more time for careful consideration and review of it. So I will take ownership of the fact that it was on our agenda last night, kind of as any other business for us to review and consider. But in that case, seemed like we had a very qualified person. The commission ultimately agreed that was qualified enough to be appointed, but I certainly will take that to heart on if the future situation arises in such circumstances. So thank you. If there's no other discussion, roll call, please.
Commissioner Gorman?
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin?
Yes.
Vice Mayor St. Clair?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgo?
Yes.
Commissioner German?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next item, L, purchase of tax auction properties. Commissioner Kilgo.
I move to authorize the code coordinator to proceed with the purchase of the addresses in the attached letter of intent from the Muskegon County Land Bank Tax Auction, 8/15/2024.
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Kilgo, supported by Commissioner Cochin. Welcome. If you care to introduce yourself, please.
Sam Poulos, I'm the code coordinator with the planning department.
Excellent. Commissioner Kilgo?
Yes. Similar to the last thing that I brought up, this item wasn't on our agenda when we originally got it, and I know the city flows, and we had a wonderful holiday last week, and so this was put on. So I like to review, and I know we have some really great commissioners who like to review everything, so I haven't been able to review this item because it was just added. So if you could tell us a little bit about the properties, what the city's plan is, or where they're at. I mean, I'm seeing it now, but I just have not had time to review this item. So if you could tell us a little bit about
Sure.
it.
The county land bank has a two times a year tax auction. And the way that works in a nutshell is the state has the first right of refusal. Basically, they have dibs on properties than we do. And part of that process is expressing our intent, our interest in the properties, which we have notified the county through delivery of this letter to the county treasurer, Tim Burgess, who's I'm not sure what his title is at the land bank, but he's the land bank guy, and Tony Malaziotis, who's the treasurer. The way we arrived at the list of properties that we chose, it was a collective decision by the planning team, myself, Mike Franzik, planning director, Jamie Presch, and Sarah Romine, our planners, and then approved by our division head, Jake Echolm. And we want to acquire the properties to further our infill housing focus and effort. And there are 10 parcels on there that are vacant. There's 2 houses that the CNS department intend to rehab and and with home funds and eventually sell to folks at the 80% AMI mark or lower.
Yeah, and just kind of for clarification purposes, this was my mistake. I inadvertently put this on the wrong meeting and it got moved over to this meeting. Within our system, I assigned it to the wrong date, and it needed to happen before our next meeting. So that was my fault. I apologize.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was, as Sam pointed out, it's been reviewed by staff and things like that. I know that didn't give the commissioners a chance to review it, but it is one of our standard things that we do regarding our development process. So that's why I chose to allow it to get put onto this meeting.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. So for me, like, staff that knows me, like, I'm all about, I think we have a great infill housing program, getting properties from the land bank to improve I'm all for it. It was just my thing is I like to review our packets. I like to know what's going on. And when I sat down, and it's new to me, I just wanted to kind of hear about it a little bit. So thank you for the clarification of it being, it having a timeline on it, because I know how the auctions work and it have to be done before the next meeting.
And to add to that, our timeline is that we needed to present it to the commission to gain a possible approval and have our application submitted by Friday. So that's why we couldn't leave it on the meeting, the 23rd, because we need to have everything to the county by the 12th.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kilgo. Any other questions or comments, commissioners? Nope. All right. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner German?
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman?
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin?
Yes.
Vice Mayor St. Clair?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgo?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next up, public hearings. First one is for establishment of a commercial redevelopment district for 280 West Muskegon Avenue. So this is a public hearing, and we have, welcome. Care to introduce yourself, please?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I am Jocelyn Hines, the development analyst here at the City of Muskegon. So the first public hearing we have before us is to establish a commercial redevelopment district. West Haven 280 LLC has requested the establishment of a commercial redevelopment district for 280 West Muskegon Avenue. You all may be familiar with that address, as that used to be the former corner building owned by Central United Methodist Church. This district will allow West Haven 280 LLC the ability to apply for a commercial facilities exemption certificate. All taxing jurisdictions have been invited and encouraged to make any public comment. And after public comment is the recommendation for the commission to approve the attached resolution. I also would like to make a slight amendment to the resolution. It should say also to authorize the clerk and the mayor to sign the resolution after approval. So.
That's for the district, okay. So
the
same
district
language is on the
establishment,
certificate.
yes.
So the ending of the motion for the certificate, that should be added to the motion for the establishment of the district as well.
Yes.
So we will first open up the public hearing, and then we'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing and subsequently establish, or at the same simultaneously establish the district. Approve the resolution and establish the district. So this is a public hearing. I have one forum wishing to speak on this item, and that would be Mike Bernhardt. Welcome, sir.
Good evening. Mike Bernhardt is my name, and I'm here on behalf of West Haven 280 LLC. My family is very pleased to have purchased this property last month. You all know it as the corner. Since it is a family business, there are several of members involved. Almost all of them are better equipped to talk in front of this group instead of me, so I apologize in advance that you are stuck with me tonight. So thank you for considering this request. We appreciate the opportunity to present our case for an extension on the tax deferment available via PA 255. I believe that a copy of our profile has been provided to the committee. West Haven 280 is a local, family-based operation, not a traditional profit-focused business model. We are developing multiple unique, high-visibility operations at the corner. However, none of them have a high profit margin. They're each passions for my family members, and I'm very proud of them. But we need help to offer these socially conscious programs that focus on child development, performance art, and wellness. The rehabilitation and repurposing of the corner is a labor of love, but it is expensive, especially when done right to preserve the beautiful neoclassic federal building style. Our total budget of $1.3 million continues to expand as we strive to meet modern building code requirements and update old systems for another century of functional service. This landmark project will be a neighborhood hub that injects vibrant energy and positive public activity into a somewhat barren but critical area of downtown, bridging Western Avenue and Midtown along the busy 3rd Street corridor. Surely, this type of development deserves as much support as another investor's apartment building or a business making widgets. These other projects are important and deserving, but the corner is going to be something very special. We request the maximum deferment link to support this vision. And since I have just a few moments left, I'll piggyback on the first presentation here tonight. This project checks many of the tiles from the new logo, including historic, fine arts, museums, play for children, and fun. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So you are with the applicant then. So you can have more than 3 minutes as the applicant if you have more you wish to share with us. But also the commissioners have an opportunity to ask you questions about the project and the request. So since you're here right now, I'm going to open up to the commissioners if they have any questions for you. Commissioner German.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Welcome, and thank you for your interest in investing in Muskegon. States that this operation will create about 22 jobs. Okay, and will those be local contractors that you'll be working with, or have you gotten to that conclusion yet?
This is a very unique situation because, as you know, it was a former church, place of worship, and our operations, our businesses that we're going to be putting in there, virtually need no changes to the interior. So unlike if it was going to be residences or offices, basically you'd have to gut the whole thing and start over. But because of the way we're operating, we really have to do no changes. And there will be, as I mentioned, multiple businesses. Four of them will be run by my immediate family. And then we have a couple of other opportunities that are available in some minor spaces, and then also some opportunities to kind of piggyback in the same spaces that my family will be operating.
So this is basically, like you said, family-owned business then?
That's correct.
Okay, so yeah. And so I see the coffee shop, the Little Miss Green Thumb, those businesses.
Commissioner German. May I ask? So I realized after I said we're going to open up questions that I should have changed tact and do the public hearing first, then do the motion to close, and then entertain questions. So if you kindly refrain from questions, we'll complete the public. I figured you were at the podium, so we just started peppering with questions.
Sure.
But if you could kindly take a seat, and we will continue the public hearing, then we'll close it and entertain any questions and comments on the establishment of the district. So is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to give public comment during this public hearing on the establishment of this commercial redevelopment district? All right, we are going to go to the phones. 231-724-6721. This is to phone in comments specifically to the establishment of a commercial redevelopment district for 280 West Muskegon Avenue. All right, no phone calls?
No, Mayor.
All right, commissioners. I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing and approve the resolution establishing a commercial redevelopment district for 280 West Muskegon Avenue and to authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
So moved.
Support.
I have a motion by Commissioner Cochin, supported by Commissioner Kilgo. Roll call, please. Oh, I'm sorry. No. Questions for staff or the applicant? And I'm going to go back to Commissioner German. Commissioner German.
Okay, yeah, welcome back to the podium, sir. Thank you. Okay, looking at the timeline, what would the timeline be for a project such as this, and when do you plan to open up?
Well, we're trying to do as quickly as possible. We still are getting some quotes from contractors, but we have other quotes that we're ready to start on right away. So after this meeting, we'll probably sign some contracts. And right now, I would say we expect to be finished with the immediate developments by the second quarter of next year. But we also are looking forward to incrementally opening some of the areas that aren't going to be affected by construction as soon as possible.
And the reason I asked about local contractors, and are you EEOC compliant, equal opportunity, hiring minority and African American contractors? Have you reached out? I mean, do you have any intentions of working with minority contractors?
So we haven't made that a focus. When you look at what we're doing, there really isn't there isn't going to be a lot of new construction.
Okay.
So, for example, the roof needs to be silver coated. So, calling up half a dozen roof companies and asking them for quotes. We are going to be putting on a solar system, and that is a local company, Chart House Electric. And I would, to answer your question in general, all of the contractors are local. I mean, basically, we're just looking up in the phone book, masonry people, carpet layers, plasterers, and so while the activities are, I would say, not terribly intensive in terms of construction, almost every surface has to be touched, whether it's the tuck pointing for the outside of the building, plaster repairs inside, new flooring, because some of that flooring is original from 1930. So our activities here are really just looking at available contractors to do the work. And essentially, we're going with the lowest budget unless there's something that's really doesn't seem right for us.
Right. And if you need to find out about masonry contractors, that Lacey Minute, I know some that I can put you in touch with that do excellent work that are minority contractors, because we want to make sure that we continue to project that model of being inclusive, and when we look at hiring and equal opportunities, something that I advocate for a lot. So, are you from the area, sir?
Only since 1988.
Okay. Where are you from? Like,
Well, I was born in California, but
okay.
But when we first moved here, and I just actually retired from Rink America 2 weeks ago, so started here in 1988 after marrying my wonderful wife, and we lived in Glenside for several decades, and finally got too big of a family, and so we now live in Norton Shores.
Okay. Well, welcome to Muskegon, and
But all three of my kids live in Muskegon.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner German. Any other questions for Mr. Bernhardt or staff? Commissioner Kilgo.
Thank you. Can you go over, earlier you said three things. You said some of the things that you'll be doing. Job development was one of them.
Sure.
And there were two other items. Can you repeat the, like, things that your business or other businesses that work in there are going to be providing for the public?
So the profile describes some of the unique businesses that are going in there. My wife has a wellness business as a kind of a general practitioner. My youngest daughter, Victoria, has Little Miss Green Thumb, which is a house plant sales and rehabilitation business. But the things that are absolutely mind-blowingly unique to West Michigan and United States, she runs a business called Broadway Boot Camp. And that is a program where historically she's gone to schools or churches or libraries, and for a week she'll train young kids, elementary school, middle school, high school, on singing and acting and dancing. And at the end of the week, she'll put on a play for the kids' parents, grandparents, and friends. So, but she's never had a brick and mortar. This will allow her to have a theater, 300-seat theater, where she can put those programs on right here in Muskegon. She's branching out. She's in this summer she'll be in California doing some. She's training a person right now from Texas. They'll be carrying it on there. This could really be a big business headquartered here in Muskegon called Broadway Boot Camp. The other activity that she's got, since she got her master's from England, she spent a lot of time in Europe, and they have a concept there called imaginative play. And if you can imagine a large room which is outfitted like a main street downtown. So there's a police office, a grocer, a baker, a veterinarian. All these little facades will be in this building, and children under 7 and under will come in with their families, and they'll spend 90 minutes in there imagining what it's like to be a baker or a policeman or a fireman or a grocer. So that's Play Muskegon. It's very rare in the United States, but she's bringing it here because she thinks it really has a big opportunity. That's another big area of the corner which is perfectly suited for what she would like to do. So that gives you a little bit of a flavor of some of the really amazing things that are happening there. Now, before we bought this building, it was used as a kind of a community hub by the Methodist Church. So they would have blood drives there. The Nelson Neighborhood Association would meet there. We intend to continue to do those things and offer that space free of charge. We want this to be a community hub that everyone can use, come, and be comfortable in. So we're really looking forward to it. Commissioner German, if you know somebody that wants to open a coffee shop, we've got an opening there. But we're really, really excited about what we plan to do with this building and all the good that can come out of it.
For sure. I have just a couple more questions. And thank you for that explanation. It does help me kind of understand more of some of the things that you'll be doing there, and seeing that the neighborhood association and other community programs that were happening there will be able to continue happening there are really good things to see. I don't know if these are separate items. The 280 LLC is the same item. They're just separated on here. But it says create 22 new jobs, and kind of like Commissioner German was asking, with those 22 jobs, are these going to be like if you all do put on drama plays or things like that where you need stage hands and staff and people at the door and tickets and all that thing? Will you be looking to work with the schools or work with some of the local staffing agencies or stuff like that to hire local residents to help these 22 jobs that are coming, because it's tied to a 4-year, on here it says a 4-year tax abatement. I'm just trying to make it equal out in my head. Like, okay, here's some of the reasons why, because they're going to do these things for the community. So can you tell me kind of more about like the jobs that you think that you'll be able to provide there at the property?
Sure, absolutely. And to be clear, the West Haven 280 and the corner, that's the landlord, if you will. So each of my family members will be a tenant, and their businesses will be a tenant of West Haven 280. And like I said, there could be 3 or 4 other tenants that we don't even know yet. So each of those tenants is responsible for staffing their own business, if you will. So, but for example, Play Muskegon will always have at least 2 people staffed there. And when you think about starting early in the morning and going late at night and being there on weekends, not late at night, but more than an 8-hour day, it's probably 2 shifts of 2 people there, and then you've got the weekend that has to be covered. I counted that as 4 people. The coffee shop, probably 3 to 4, maybe 5 people based upon extended hours. Broadway Boot Camp, she can have as many as 50 kids in one of these shows. So they usually like to have 1 person for every 10 children in terms of trainers and people that are helping them understand. So that's 5 or 6 people right there. My wife's business, she's likely going to partner with other wellness practitioners. She might have 3 or 4 other people in with her, not at the same time, but cycling through. So all of these activities will, by nature, end up being having diversified staff. My daughter right now, she has a staff of 12 for this summer, and it is well diversified with Asian and African American staff already there.
Awesome. And then my last question is, It's a private, it is a private business, even though there's different businesses in there. We have approved, the old Catholic Charities building, which is gonna be right down the street from you, and a very busy gas station because there's not very many gas stations downtown. Right there, have you and the businesses or the corner as the landlord, thought about security and just making things with some of the updates. You don't have to do a lot to the building, but you do have to do some updates to the building. Thought about security for the building and the people that will be in the building.
Well, a couple of things. Number one, besides making sure that, the bricks are all tuck pointed and the roof isn't leaking, we're going to be adding on patios on the front and the back to make it more of a welcoming environment, have a safe way to get in and out of the building. And we think that improved environment will help the neighborhood to see, oh, look, here's something good and new. Let's take care of it. Let's protect it. We do have to have fire exit lights at each exit. And our intention is to put cameras on those as well to provide an extra sense of security. We had a meeting with the Museum of Art today because they're buying the parking lot that's exactly adjacent to ours. And one of the things that they want to do is put up a 360-degree camera with additional lighting in that parking area just to make sure it's well lit and taken care of as much as possible. So lots of small things add up. And the main reason for our meeting, though, with the Museum of Art today was to look at a centralized refuse island, because right now, every organization there has their own two big blue cans kind of scattered cattywampus throughout that neighborhood. And the museum was very generous in offering part of their parking lot for that centralized island that will consolidate those, protect them, put security up, and beautify what is kind of an eyesore right now. So I'm not sure that there's a lot more we can do other than what I've outlined, but as we move forward, we're going to certainly be open to anything that helps improve that environment there, because we just want it to be a welcoming neighborhood attraction.
Thank you.
Anyone else have questions? Vice Mayor St. Clair.
I actually have a question for Analyst Hines, if I may.
Yes, absolutely.
So this would be a request for a tax abatement for developing this property, and I'm wondering if you can speak to the economic development history of this particular building.
Yeah, so, and just point of clarification too, this is to establish the district, so if there's more questions about the actual tax abatement that needs to be voted on, we can talk about it during that public hearing. But, just to kind of answer your question, this building, of course, original use was a place of worship. So now that this building, will be turned into a commercial space, it will, create a taxable value for the city of Muskegon. It's also located in the Downtown Development Authority, so they will be able to benefit from this being a taxable value now as well. Is that what you were asking? Okay.
Putting on the tax roll.
Yes. Yes. Yep.
Which we love to see.
Yes.
And also each of those jobs will be attached to a paycheck,
Yes.
which will be attached to income tax,
Yes.
which we need to make the city work.
Absolutely.
So,
Yep.
Thank you, Vice Mayor St. Clair. Yeah, Commissioner German.
Yes, just more of a comment, and thank you for all the information that you provided. And being an educator working at Muskegon Community College as a student success coach, that's what I do. We have faculty that has the expertise in theater, and you're looking at doing some type of performing arts there. And I think that would be a good opportunity also to partner with the college and reach out to one of the staff members there to assist or get ideals and with these services that you're going to provide, like for theater, is that a cost to that? Is that just something that kids would have to, pay a fee for to get that type of training, or what?
That is correct.
Okay.
It's just like any other after-school program or organized sport where there's a fee to participate. I will mention that my daughter Jackie, who's running this, she is an instructor at the Muskegon Community
really?
College.
Oh, okay. Great.
So, and in fact, the majority of her staff has come through the fine arts programs in Muskegon, and a lot of them are students that she's had at the community college. It really is a nice outlet for people that really love the fine arts, but are worried about, how do I make a living?
Yeah.
I mean, these kind of opportunities are very, very rare. And so Jackie is proof that you can follow your passion and, not be a starving artist. And really her whole ambition is to keep bringing up people, expanding her repertoire so that more and more people can do this kind of thing.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Coach.
I just have one comment. So, I have actually attended one of Miss Robinson's classes on numerous occasions with my child, and I just have to say that her creativity and professional presence really shines through in the classes. So when we're thinking about, is this going to be beneficial for the children of Muskegon? As somebody whose child has benefited, I can definitely say I think it will. I think it'll be a positive impact on the children here, and I'm looking forward to it. I like to see us supporting small businesses and family-owned businesses and developers, and not just like the big corporate mega developers. So, thank you so much.
Did you participate in Broadway Boot Camp or Broadway Babies?
Broadway Babies.
So Broadway Babies is a offshoot, which is, we're talking about infants under 1 year old, where they come in for 45 minutes of movement and music, and it's just a precursor to Broadway Boot Camp. And so she's been doing that for quite a while. Another import from Europe, where it's very, very popular, but not as well known here in the United States. So she's a dynamo. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Bernhardt or staff? Any comments otherwise? All right. Thank you, Mr. Bernhardt. All right. If there's no other questions or comments, we're going to go to roll call, and then we will do a public hearing and vote on the establishment or the issuance of a certificate. So roll call, please.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgo.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Now we have a public hearing for the issuance of a commercial facilities exemption certificate for West Haven 280 LLC.
It's me
Welcome
again.
back.
Thank you. Jocelyn Hines, Development Analyst with the city. A lot of the comments that I were going to make were covered in the previous public hearing, but since I typed it out, I should read it, right? So I'm going to read it. West Haven 280 LLC is requesting a commercial facilities exemption certificate, better known as a PA 255 for 280 West Muskegon Avenue. This particular act encourages new and replacement and restoration of commercial properties. This property, like we said, was recently owned by Central United Methodist Church and will now have a taxable value due to its change in original use. It's located in the Downtown Development Authority. Rehab costs will amount to over $1 million, and you can kind of see the breakdown of all the expenses. I think I included that in your packet here. Like what was said previously, it will house several family businesses, Little Miss Green Thumb, Broadway Boot Camp, as well as a coffee shop and immersive play experience. The Internal Tax Committee met, and due to additional taxable value and job creation, we are recommending a 4-year tax abatement. And after public hearing, we are recommending the attached resolution be signed, and I'm not sure if you all have additional comments or anything you would like to add to the actual certificate, issuance of the certificate.
This is where I get on my knees and ask for more.
So, thank you, Analyst Hines. You are welcome. It's a public hearing. You're welcome to come back and make your case as to an extension beyond the recommended 4 years.
I basically said my piece. The criteria that are used to come up with how long the abatement goes does not take into consideration anything other than, okay, how much does it cost? How much is the taxes? And how many jobs does it make? It doesn't take anything into account of what does it bring to the community? What does it mean to have this historical building saved? How are we going to benefit rather than just putting some people in more boxes or creating some jobs over here that make nuts and bolts? This is something that goes way beyond all that. And if you've driven by the building, it's probably the best looking building in Muskegon. And what we're going to do in there is going to be far beyond anything else that happens in Muskegon. You can get some of it at the Museum of Art. You can get some of it at the Fruenthal. You can get some of it at the library. Nobody's doing what is going to happen at this building. And I just think it deserves more consideration than the typical general numbers that people look at to come up with, how long are we going to abate the taxes? Thank you.
Did I hear in your first remarks during public hearing a number that you were requesting or advocating for?
So when we started this process, we understood it was 12 years. And more recently, we found out it was 4 years. So
you're seeking the maximum of 12 years.
So the other thing that was curious to me is because we have no residences in this building, we can't apply for 100% tax abatement. We can only apply for 50% tax abatement. If we decided, oh well, let's try and find a way to cram an apartment into the back of this building, we'd be here asking for 100% for 12 years. What we're being offered or being suggested offering is a half of the tax abatement for a period of 4 years. And when you look at what we're offering to do here, there's not a lot of difference between half of an abatement for 4 years and a full abatement for 12 years. It's, a 650 square foot apartment. We could have done that. It would have put us in a different direction. Our appeal is, this is something special. Let's not shortchange it.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Bernhardt.
I also want to provide some clarity on what our internal tax committee process is, just so people are informed. So we look at the application, the information that was provided by the applicant. Based on the information that we received, we looked at the actual taxable value that the project will actually provide, as well as the number of jobs created, as well as if the actual owner of the building is local or not local. And so that's what kind of informs our decision on if we give a 4 to 12, 1 to 0 actually to 12-year tax abatement. So I just wanted to kind of clarify what our actual process was as far as how we came to that decision.
Thank you for that context, Analyst Hines. So this is public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to give comment on this item, which is the issuance of the facilities exemption certificate? All right. Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Teresa Bernhardt, and I will be one of the businesses in the building. I specialize in wellness, particularly trauma-informed yoga. I teach yoga classes at Root Down, clearly, special place downtown Muskegon. And what I'd like to bring to your attention is that we were making estimates when we put together our proposal. There's potential for growth here that we really are just beginning to tap into, whether it's clearly with children in theater, children who may have special needs for additional play experiences, recreation of those sorts, but also educating people with regard to plant life and perhaps providing a little bit more experience and exposure to mental health needs and meeting those needs. Really, we cannot put numbers there that are specific. We'd like to leave that a little more open, if possible, simply to allow for that growth. So I think when we look at saying 22 jobs, that's probably a minimum. And we certainly hope that what we achieve is far greater and far bigger and encompasses many, many more people. So I'd like to offer that. Any questions?
Thank you, Mrs. Bernhardt.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience wish to give public comment at this time? All right, we're going to go to the phones. The phone calling number is 231-724-6721. This is public comment for this particular public hearing on the issuance of a commercial facilities exemption certificate for West Haven 280 LLC. All right, no calls. All right, commissioners, before entertaining a motion, I just want to elaborate on the context that Analyst Hines just shared with us with regard to their process. That process was informed by a policy that the commission had established with regard to tax incentive policy, identifying cognates in which any applicant is scored against, scoring for whether you're a resident, how many people you're employing, how much dollars you're investing, management makeup, and so on and so forth. A number of different cognates that are used that staff scores to inform their recommendation to the city commission. The city commission has the flexibility to go say no, to say yes, to say fewer years, more years. But we had adopted the policy to create a more standardized and systematic approach for staff to review applicants and proposals and bring them to the city commission. So it is your pleasure on how you want to form the motion. I mean, we have the staff recommendation.
Point of order. Do you want to close the public?
Yeah, it's combined motion.
Oh, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's what I'm bringing up right now. Before we do that motion, if it's the commission's will, whether to concur with the staff recommendation or deviate therefrom. So I'm opening up to the commission. Commissioner Cochin.
So, that was one of the things that I was noodling around in the back of my mind, trying to remember past commission meetings that I've seen and some of the past commission meetings I've sat in on. And I'm trying to figure out what do we normally give people in these instances. I feel like I've seen a lot for 10 years recently, and I know that we've made a lot of special exceptions for much larger developers, and I kind of wonder if, it is 4 years at 50%, adequate, is kind of what I'm thinking.
So I will reiterate that how the number of years are being recommended is based upon the policy and the scoring system established. So if they invest more or create more jobs, they qualify for more years. And so the ones that have come before us have been considerably larger projects with a lot more triple, quadruple job creation and many millions of dollars more invested. In terms of the exceptions, to my knowledge, since the commission adopted this tax incentive policy, which I think was in 2021 or 2020, I think, there's only been one exception, or there's only been one deviation from the staff recommendation to the commission that was aligned with that scoring system. So only one time has the commission decided to deviate from that.
Can you refresh our memory on how we deviated there?
That was a downtown business that had a existing tax incentive on a property, and they were investing in a new property and developing that property, and so they were because of the situation where they'd already invested here and did this business, and then they were doing a new property, new business over here, they wanted us to give consideration to the totality of all their investments and kind of piggyback the one on the other. And so the commission ended up saying, okay, we think that's sensible, and gave them a few extra years on it.
I think Commissioner Kilgo had his hand up first.
Commissioner Kilgo.
Yeah, I just have a question. So, with this particular business, and just so I can understand, 3 years from now, they're exploding. They've added 50 jobs. Can they apply for an extension on the abatement, or no?
I believe so. No, you can't come back and ask for an extension. No. Okay. Director
Thank you.
Echolm says no.
Okay, so
That's a great question, because I had wondered the same, if it could be extended, but no. So, Commissioner Jeremy.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Kilgo, for that question, because that was one of my questions also. But given the fact when I asked the question about the investment that's going to go into the building, and it's not a whole lot, as Mr. Is it Bernhardt? Stated that it's going to be a huge amount of dollars being invested at this point in time, but it will be some investments. Well, I should say $5 million or more. That's not where we're at right now for this development. Okay, so which would warrant, I think, more years. Ms. Hines, if we looked at it from a scoring perspective, we could see possibly adding more years. And given the fact that it can't come back if this is approved, but you did talk about, Mr. Bernhardt, possible growth, or
No.
growth or expansion in the future, if I heard you correctly. And given the policy, once due to the scoring in investment, if we don't deviate from the policy just this one time, they won't have the option to come back. Right. I could almost see probably some flexibility, maybe one additional year, if anything. That's just my thought.
Yeah,
That's just my thought.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts.
Yeah.
Director Echolm. So while they cannot be extended, I'm putting you on the spot right now, but Development Services Director Jake Echolm.
Good evening.
Good evening. So while an abatement may not be extended, if we issue it for 4 years, it can't come back. We're like, hey, give 2 more years. We could revoke it if they're not meeting the expectations and the commitments to this.
Yes, and further than that, the statute requires local municipalities to do what's called a clawback, where you not only revoke the abatement, but then charge the abated taxes to make up for those abatements. The State Tax Commission requires that as a condition of approval, that in the event people don't meet the obligations under the approved abatement, that we claw those back. The reason it can't be extended is because projects for statutory tax abatements such as these are based upon the taxable value of the improvements. And so when the commission approves it and it's filed with the State Tax Commission and approved by the State Tax Commission, it's placed on what's called a special tax roll, and then it's based on those point-in-time improvements, which are not meant to be made until such time as the abatement has been approved. The theory there being that the abatements are meant to facilitate projects that would have difficulty being completed without abatement. So the idea of waiting 4 years and being, they're growing and doing well, and adding years is sort of antithetical to the original intention of the statute.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Director Echolm. Vice Mayor St. Clair.
We do seem to be debating this without a motion, so I'm gonna jump in.
Yes, please do.
We have a policy.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to make a motion. So that's what I was just going to suggest, that we can continue conversation if we could get a motion. And then if the commission wishes to amend that motion for a different number of years, we can do that. But so that we can continue with this.
If I may, prior to the motion, I want to reiterate what Analyst Hines very succinctly put together is The staff are making taking no position on the number of years, and I think you also stated that well. Actually encourage developers to come here if they feel they'd like to, petition for more years of abatement. So the whole reason that we wrote this policy and had it adopted by commission several years ago was to take subjectivity out of the process, because there was a sentiment in the community that we were sort of just giving away like large abatements without a lot of forethought, and then also potentially there was room for playing favorites. And while those allegations weren't specifically made, we were worried that they would be, because there was no system in place. And so just want to, on behalf of the staff that put this together in my division, let you know that we have no position on the number of years. It's completely up to you, as was mentioned. We just follow that scoring matrix. So thank you.
Thank you, Director Ekholm. So now I would entertain a motion so we can continue discussion. Vice Mayor St. Clair.
I move to close the public hearing and approve the attached resolution granting a commercial facilities exemption certificate for a term of 4 years for real property to West Haven 280 LLC, and to authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Support.
All right, thank you.
As I was going to say, thank you.
Vice Mayor St. Clair.
So we have a policy that has been in place for several years now. We have a recommendation of a term of 4 years based on some rubric and science and math that has been established. I am excited about this project. I would like to see it go forward. I want to support it. I would also caution the commission to be very careful about how we proceed, because if we deviate from the recommendation, this is setting precedent. And we have a lot of these abatement requests that come before us. So if we are prepared to view every one of these requests from the same lens of flexibility and understanding that I don't believe any of us are tax experts or development analysts, I would just recommend that we be mindful of how we proceed.
Thank you, Vice Mayor St. Clair. Any other comments, questions? Commissioner Kogo.
Yeah, Mayor, you said that since the policy went in place, we have changed it one time.
Not the policy being changed, but that we've deviated from the policy.
So we've deviated, so that would be the precedent, not what we do here tonight, if it's already been changed or deviated from once for a certain entity business. And the developer or 280 LLC would like more years, and they say that they're doing a lot of good things, and because we can negate the tax abatement if they're not doing what it says that they're going to do in here. Like Commissioner German said, I don't see a problem giving them a couple extra years. If the max is 12 and we're issuing 4, and I know that Ms. Hines did all of her due diligence, and I thank you for all your work, but 6 years, somewhere right in between, half, I think that would be good if they're doing all of these good things that they say that they're going to do, and that's just the start of it, and that they're going to grow. I think it'd be good for the community. So I don't see a couple extra years hurting anything, personally.
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner Kogo. Commissioner Cochin.
Yes, thank you. You're reading through the packet, some of the changes that are going to be made to that historic building. I'm seeing improvements for accessibility, and I think that that's something that's critical. We're hearing about it almost at every single commission meeting now, that we need more accessibility here in the city. And so while $1.5 million might not feel like a lot to the city, it is to individuals. And I think that if we really want to foster the sense that you can start your own small business here in the city of Muskegon and prosper and thrive and stay here in the city and invest in the city, I would be comfortable deviating. I actually was thinking about, you know, a 6-year abatement, and that's kind of where I was sitting.
Thank you, Commissioner Cochin. Commissioner German.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Also looking at what's going to be done in investment, as I stated, in this historical building there. I've been in it before, attended some of the meetings down there at the neighborhood associations, and there were other activities. I've always thought it was a very unique building. They don't build buildings like that anymore. The materials and cost and labor that's going to be done. I think, you know, looking at the investment, and this is just my thought, and we do have our scoring system, and it stated it was 4 years for the recommendation, and I know we deviated from the policy before. I would be okay at this juncture, given more years, and I said 5, and if it's in the commission's favor, agreeable. If we went half of that, I would be okay with that also. But I just think it gives investors that really want to make a difference in the community and want to bring business to the community an incentive to really be here and bring jobs, but also the services that is needed. So I don't have an issue, and making it more welcoming and for the community, and it's right downtown also, which happens to be in my ward also. So anything that I could do to assist and to try to be business friendly on a fair note, but we just got to be mindful. There may be others that may come in front of us, you know, want the same opportunity. So let's think about that also.
Thank you, Commissioner German. So we have a motion on the floor. I would support the motion as is. I would also support if it went 6 years. Well, we do have a policy, and it's good that we have a policy. The policy helps guide staff in making determinations and recommendations according to the scoring system that we've established, and we can always, you know, review and look at tweaking if necessary. We still have the discretion of the City Commission based upon the totality of the picture, intangibles, to deviate or give fewer or more. I think that we should be careful, not letting this be a routine situation where we're deviating, because if we're continuously deviating, then we need to be looking at the policy and making changes to the policy that is guiding staff and their recommendations to the City Commission. This project is taking and this applicant is taking a property that's not on the tax rolls and putting it on the tax rolls, while then requesting an abatement to help facilitate that. A partial abatement, it's not a full abatement. So the city is still seeing a net gain in property taxes being collected from this project, in addition to the city income taxes that Vice Mayor St. Clair mentioned earlier. And we, I believe, as a city, want to be supportive entrepreneurs and help facilitate a robust entrepreneurial ecosystem. And here we have an opportunity to develop almost an entrepreneurial ecosystem unto itself within one building. You know, multiple small businesses that are creatively reprogramming this facility, which, while in recent years had kind of some vitality with Central United Methodist Church trying to program it. For so many years before that, it was a vacant, empty building. And so now here's an opportunity to creatively reprogram it, put it in productive use, create additional tax revenue for the city and other taxing entities. And so I can support a deviation of policy in this situation and giving up to 6 years of the abatement. But the motion on the floor is for right now. And so unless there's amendment or modification, Vice Mayor St. Clair.
I'm happy to amend my motion to 6 years.
Excuse my memory, I don't remember who supported it. Was that you, Commissioner
I will
Berman?
support that amendment, yes.
All right. So we have a friendly amendment supported by the motion maker and the supporter. The current motion on the floor is to close the public hearing and to issue exemption certificate for 6 years. Is there any further discussion before we go to roll call? Okay. Roll call, please.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgo?
Yes.
Commissioner German?
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman?
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin?
Yes.
Vice Mayor St. Clair?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate your efforts, and thank you for choosing to grow with Muskegon. All right, so that concludes our scheduled agenda. However, under any other business, I have invited, as you may have seen, there was a press release shared by email. I also had it printed out and shared here so everyone has access to it. There was also an invitation extended by email to an event that's happening this Saturday. But I have invited Judith Hayner, who is the director of Muskegon City Public Arts Initiative, to present tonight. We added it under, I'm tacking it on under any other business. So thank you so much for your patience and staying with us throughout this meeting. But we are going to have a presentation about this newest art installation. And then afterwards, I'm going to ask the commission just for a formal expression of support of this art installation going at our historic Marsh Field. So welcome. If you'd care to introduce yourself.
Thank you. My name is Judy Hayner. I am the director of the Muskegon City Public Art Initiative, and I've talked to you a few times before. I thought tonight we would talk about Marshfield, but before that, maybe I'll give you a little reminder of the things we've been up to since 2018. Go ahead, Ann. Not working? So beginning in 2018, and some of you have been around for this ride the whole time, we started a project called the Muskegon City Public Art Initiative. And our goal was to do 10 monumental public art commissions. Excuse me, that would be my phone that's ringing. Hold on. I love it. Anyway, so our job was to do 10 commissions. That was what we designed at the very beginning. The works of art were all to be linked with the stories of Muskegon. And as you've talked about at the beginning, there are so many stories of Muskegon. Muskegon, I think, is particularly unique that way. But that we would link our installations with history or other stories of Muskegon. We use open processes to figure out what we're doing and what who the artists are. The works were to be commissioned by the Muskegon City Public Art Initiative, and they all qualify for an initial grant of $25,000, which is the funds that were donated by the philanthropist whose idea this was, which is Patrick O'Leary. Some of you probably know him. And then once we had the idea, the site, the seed money, then we would start to raise more money and figure out the project. Go ahead. So far, we have completed 7 of the 10 original commissions. We are installing 2 projects this summer, and we're going to talk about number 8 today, but we're installing projects number 8 and 9, and then number 10 should be in 2025. If you count the Muskegon Rails project as four murals, we've actually will wind up doing 13 different pieces of significant public art when we're all said and done here. Most of those, 10 of those, are in the city of Muskegon, which was the intent right from the beginning, is that this was primarily a city project. However, we always knew that we wanted to do something in the Heights, and then we wound up with the Muskegon Rails being able to do one of those murals in the city of Norton Shores. So the sculptures that we've done 5 so far. The Moxie, the city built on timber at the Heritage Landing, the Celebrating Muskegon at Pierre Marquette, One Drop at the Convention Center, and then Band Together in the Heights. And we have 2 more sculptures on the list, one this summer and then one for 2025. And then we've also done the 5 murals so far, but there's more. I mean, there's one more that we'll talk about today, but the 4 bridge murals, and then what defines Muskegon, the mural that's on the Trinity Health Arena. We do believe, and it's been part of our creed ever since we started this, that art could remind us of the stories of our community. And as I've had the incredible good luck of being able to do this project, I've loved the history that I have been able to understand better of this city, of my adopted city of Muskegon. So what's up next? Next up is Marshfield, and I cannot tell you how excited all of us that are working on this are to see what's going to happen here later this week. But baseball in Muskegon, as city commissioners, you probably know this, but probably a lot of people don't. As much time as I spent at Marshfield and watched the traffic go up and down Laketon and up and down Peck, we know about Marshfield, a lot of us do. But I know that as those cars go back, and most people don't. It's a ballpark. That's all it is, except it's actually so much more. Baseball actually started in the late 1800s, actually even a little bit earlier than that, but organized baseball with leagues and teams really started in the late 1880s, and as early as 1897, there was a team called the Muskegon Reds. I particularly think that's interesting, having come through the Muskegon Big Reds tradition and understanding the story of that name, that actually Reds has been something that's been around Muskegon for a very long time. But one of my favorite parts of the story is that in February of 1916, think about February in Muskegon. Just think about that for a minute, right? So Charles Marsh had already gotten involved with the city's baseball scene. He was the president of their efforts at that point to start another professional league. And he decided that the best thing to do would be to build a really significant ballpark. And so in February of 16, he decided to do that. He bought 4 city blocks, wooded. There were some houses, I don't think there were a lot, but it was intersected by Clinton Street. And I make a point of that because in less than 3 months, they had the first game at Marshfield, which I think is insane. I know Muskegon in February. You know Muskegon in February, March, April. Anyway, part of my favorite story. This is a picture of the Muskegon team. At that point, they were called the Reds, like around 1912, even before Marshfield opened up. This is so the field opened. They had a game. They had bleachers and places to sit. They did not have a grandstand like this. That took a little bit longer. That took a couple more years. But this is a picture from 1926, which I just think is the most beautiful picture. We've used it a lot in this project. So that was your Marshfield in 1926. And what I'm always impressed with in Muskegon is the history of and the legacy of philanthropy and the legacy of let's do this. Let's get this done. And obviously Charles Marsh had that in the early around 1920. Charles Marsh approached you all as a city government and deeded the property to the city of Muskegon, providing that it always had a playground, picnic grounds, and a ball field. And if you ever wanted to do something else with it, it automatically reverts back to the C.W. Marsh Company, which I just think is pretty interesting. So we have Marshfield, and we're really excited about it. So we talk about their history. They had factory teams. They had city leagues. They had a Pepsi team. They had a Chase Piano. They had a team there. And then the high school in 1937 established baseball as a sport, and that became their home field as well. Marshfield has also hosted over the decades the farm teams for the Detroit Tigers, the Chicago White Sox, and the New York Yankees at different points. The Muskegon Lassies, think about a league of our own. We had our own girls professional baseball team with the Muskegon Lassies. We had the first black American player to be signed by the Yankees in 1950. They signed him to a contract, Elston Howard, who played for the Kansas City Monarchs. And the minute they signed him, they sent him to Muskegon. So we had him for a year. He then went into the service, and then after that went on to the New York Yankees. But probably one of our more famous people that played at Marshfield during the years. Many of during all of the decades, there have been different people through those years that have wound up either in the minor leagues or in the big leagues. So we have a good history here of what happens to people that play baseball at Marshfield. More recently, in this century, in the 21st century, Nate McLeod, Jacob Bushberger, and Blake Dunn are the more recent ones that have really been successful as they've gone on from Marshfield. Blake Dunn was just brought into the Cincinnati Reds in June. He had been in their minor leagues. He played at Marshfield throughout the 2018 season. So he's made kind of a big splash, I think, for them already this year. The other thing that's so impressive about Marshfield are the people through the years that have stepped up and said, we're going to take care of this. We're going to figure this out. We're going to keep it going. So we look at people like Len Piasecki, the Galkowski brothers. I've been able to get to know both Pete and Walt. Has been absolutely delightful. Ron Pesch and so many others have just really cared about this institution, about this wonderful magic corner in Muskegon, and they've really kept it going. So you were really smart and installed this beautiful garage that has a wall that was begging for a mural. And as we were looking at the different projects we thought we might do with the Muskegon City Public Art Initiative, I noticed that wall a long time ago. It wasn't really clear until the last several months that we were going to be able to put that into our list of projects to do. We actually started talking seriously about this in November. So this is going to be not only a great project, it's also going to be one of the quickest ones we've pulled off. So we are working with the Wall Dogs, and the Wall Dogs were here in 2013. Jay Allen and Robert Valdez and Nancy Bennett came and they did the two of the murals downtown, the two industrial murals, Muskegon Proud and Muskegon Soars. They did those in 2013. When we started talking to Jason Piasecki and Bob Lukens and Ron Pesch, and they were interested in looking at the Wall Dogs, particularly because of their vintage style of creating billboards. The Wall Dogs were formed in 1993, and they were put together and interested in reviving kind of the old billboard styles that we had for advertising. And I don't know if you remember when we talked about Hubert Massey, he was a sign painter as well. Billboards were hand painted up until the early 90s, and then overnight they weren't. They were printed. So the Wall Dogs have a particularly vintage style. We invited Jay Allen and Robert to come in and meet with a group of enthusiasts, not only our committee, but some other people that were invited to just come in and say, the questions were, what are the stories? What are the stories we really should highlight? So we did that in March, and then out of that it has come this concept for the mural. We're also working with Dan Parker. Dan Parker painted one of the bridge murals. He painted the mural with the faces on it. He's a local Muskegon artist, and he's doing a series of 13 portraits of some of the Marshfield notables that will be hung elsewhere in the park. And they're going to look like baseball cards, big baseball cards. So I think it's going to be really fun. All right. Today it is home to the Muskegon Clippers. Muskegon Clippers is a collegiate, is part of the Great Lakes Summer Collegiate Baseball League. And these are leagues that are organized really throughout the country. And it's the opportunity for college players to be able to play through the summer. And they play a pretty ambitious schedule. 36 games, 6 weeks. They play 6 games a week. We've been lucky this season is that most of their games home have been on the weekends. And if you haven't made one, you're running out of time. So I have a great opportunity for all of you. Come Saturday, we will be dedicating this mural at 6 o'clock Saturday night. The Wall Dogs come in Saturday morning. We install it. I have committee members that think they might figure out how to cover it. So we might unveil it. I'm not promising that. That seems a little daunting, but we'll see. Anyway, 6 o'clock, we're going to dedicate it. I know we have some families that are coming that are their kids are represented on that mural. Some of the stories are familiar to them, and our committee will be there, and I hope all of you will be there to help us dedicate it. The projects 9 and 10, just a quick update on that. We are installing also our second project this summer, which we think will be installed in August. It's the sculpture for the Shoreline Drive area between Shoreline Drive and the Shoreline Hotel. That should be happening here pretty quickly. That should be going in August. And then our last project is we've reserved for the Muskegon Museum of Art, where we will commission a sculpture to celebrate their expansion. And we're looking at doing a sculpture, inviting artists to submit concepts inspired by Tornado by John Stewart Curry, which is their most iconic painting. So that should be really fun. And I think the RFP for that should go out in the fall, and then I'm hoping that maybe a year from this fall we'll have an installation there. So that's what we're doing. What else did I say? Is there another, is that it? Is that it? All right. I would like to point out that the funds that we've raised since 2018, we're probably at about 1.4 million, of which about 85% is private donors. And when you think about Muskegon, I think all of us know the generosity of this town. But it's not just our city. It's really the greater Muskegon area that steps in and says, this is important and it's going to make a difference. So I invite you to join us. I'm sorry Destiny is not here because I was hoping she would also be coming and maybe she would be one of our speakers. And Mayor, you're going to be one of our speakers, right? All right.
I'll be there.
That's what we're doing.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming tonight and presenting this exciting new art installation and moreover, all of your work.
Thank you.
Over the years, enriching our community with wonderful public art.
Thank you.
So, commissioners, I am going to be asking for a formal expression of support from the commission, but if you have any questions or comments for Ms. Hayner, Commissioner Kilgo.
Thank you. Hi, Ms. Hayner.
Hi.
Thank you for being here this evening. I just have a couple of questions. The mural at Marshfield, is it going to be that Doris Sam, the A League of Her Own? Is it going to be her? Because
they'll be included. The mural is going to tell quite a few stories.
Okay.
Yeah,
and we don't know what it'll be exactly because they kind of go okay.
Right.
When the slide was up, there was a picture of her, so I didn't know if that was.
That's not the picture we're using, but we do have a picture of Doris Sams.
Okay.
On representing the Lassies. We actually have a great picture of the Muskegon Lassies bus. Anyway, yes. So there's several stories that are going to be told on there. We're highlighting Bucky Harris, who played in the very first game in 1916. He is the only member of the Baseball Hall of Fame that played at Marshfield. He's part of it. Elston Howard's on it. The 1950s team, the Detroit Tigers exhibition team that was here. There's quite a few things going on in the mural. It's a busy mural.
For sure. I'm a former baseball player, so I'll be there on Saturday. I love it.
Good.
A couple of other questions that I have. The Shoreline Drive Arena sculpture, you said.
Say it again.
9 and 10. Projects 9 and 10, the Shoreline Drive Arena sculpture. You already have your artist for that sculpture?
That sculpture is being fabricated as we speak. In fact, it's almost done.
Awesome. And then...
And that's the artist for that is Lee Brown, who is a Muskegon artist.
Yes, awesome. And then for any other Muskegon artists or local artists that want to find out about how to... portray their art around, with different projects that you all work with, or
my last project will be the museum one, but we will invite any of the sculptors that are in Muskegon to be a part of that, to submit ideas for
that RFP. And do you know how that RFP is going to go out?
Meaning the request for a proposal?
Yeah.
I'm hoping in September.
Okay.
I got to get these two other ones put to bed.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you so much.
All right. You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments at this time? Commissioner Cochin.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. I think that Marshfield is a really neat part of Muskegon that a lot of people overlook, like you mentioned. It was really special to my dad. He was an avid Clippers fan, and he would go very frequently, as frequently as his health would allow him, until his health really declined. And so every time we would drive by it, he would talk about how, it was given to the city and it has to stay a baseball field.
Yes.
And I love that. And I love that we have those places that are claimed for the citizens and that can't be, taken and developed into other ways. And I appreciate you taking the attention to the city of Muskegon and its history and displaying the art there and listening to the citizens. So thank you.
Thank you. I will say to you, I've been out to Marshfield a lot since November. I'm amazed at how used it is. Every single time I'm there, if the weather's decent, and even if it's raining, there are people walking that walking path. I don't know what you're thinking about doing for your other parks, but I put in those walking paths. I'm amazed by that. I mean, that park is used. It's heavily used by its community. I love that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments at this time?
Oh, by the way, may I do one more thing?
Yeah.
I want to recognize George and Joanna Dornbos. These are people that found me on my second project and have volunteered on every project I've done. I do not know what I would do without them. So I just want to recognize them and thank them.
Fantastic. Familiar faces. Thank you. Awesome. Well, thank you again so much. This building, as she intimated or alluded to, when the City Commission approved funding for construction of this garage building at Marsh Field, there was an expectation at that time that a mural would go on there eventually.
There we
So I
go.
think this mural is very fitting at Marsh Field, such a rich, storied history, and this magnificent piece will reflect all of those stories.
I think people
throughout
will
Muskegon
stop
County.
to see it because they're going to want to know what those stories are, and we'll have signage that helps them see it. But yeah, I think it's going to change. It's going to elevate the understanding of what that asset is to this community, I think. So I'm excited and very, very proud to be able to be a part of it, even though I don't have an athletic bone in my body. Not one. But
Excellent.
anyway,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
All right, commissioners, I would welcome a motion of support for this art installation at our Marsh Field.
So move.
All right. Well, we got a motion by Commissioner Kogo, supported by Vice Mayor St. Clair. All right. Unless there's any further discussion, roll call, please.
Commissioner Kilgo?
Yes.
Commissioner German?
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman?
Yes.
Commissioner Coachman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor St. Clair?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Excellent. Thank you again. And cheers. See you Saturday. All right. Sounds good. All right. Anything else to be brought up under any other business before we go to general public comment? Commissioner Cochin.
So I just wanted to let everybody know, in case you weren't aware, that this Thursday, the 11th, there is going to be the Planning Commission meeting, and they will be discussing the docks development. So those of you who are interested in the changes that are occurring there, that will be at 4 p.m. at City Hall on Thursday. And then this upcoming Tuesday, we have two big important meetings. One at Hartshorn Marina, that's the park plan review, and that will be taking place between 4:30 and 6:30 p.m. And then you can leave from there and head over to the Pooch Parade if you're a dog lover at the McGrath Park Band Shell. And that starts at 6 p.m.
Thank you, Commissioner Cogin. All right. And if there's nothing else to be brought up under any other business, then I'm going to go to public comment. We have one form on general public comment, still welcoming additional forms, and then we'll go to the phones as well. So first up, we have Stephanie Barrett joining us from the City of Whitehall.
Hi, I'm not going to do politics. I'm just here to introduce myself.
Welcome. You have up to 3 minutes to provide your remarks.
Thank you. I am Stephanie Barrett. I am running for the Water Resources Commissioner, former Drain Commissioner's office, and I'm just here to introduce myself to those who may not have met me and to put a face to everybody else. So please get out and vote. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Barrett. Appreciate you joining us this evening. All right. Anyone else in the audience wishing to give public comment? No? We're going to go to the phones. 231-724-6721. And while we're waiting on the phones, I'm sorry, I'm going to call you from the audience. How can people contact you if they do have questions? Ms. Barrett.
I have cards with me. I have an email. I have Facebook.
Okay. You have a Facebook page? Okay. So if you have questions, you can follow up by Facebook or seek her out. Contact information. All right. We have any takers on the phone?
No, Mayor.
Okay. Commissioners? Nope, we are not going to adjourn because we have to go to the...
Mayor.
Oh, we do have a phone call.
It says James Colcom.
Hello, Mr. Kolkema, joining us from the NIMS neighborhood. You have up to 3 minutes to provide your remarks.
Hi, this is Jan Kolkema,
Oh,
calling
Jan,
from the
Miss
NIMS
Kolkema.
neighborhood. Hello.
Welcome.
I wanted to give special kudos. We had an event here 2 weeks ago in the NIMS neighborhood, and there was some wind that decided to come roaring into our community and give us a lot of devastation. And I wanted first to thank Manager Seifert for your response. I sent you an email wondering what are we going to do with our garbage and all our spoiled food. And I know you're busy, your plate is full, yet you got right back to me and then got right back to me with a plan. And that really just took away one of the stressors. And then the Department of DPW guys, they were out there working so hard to get the street cleared as much as they could, to get our terraces cleaned up. They were there the Sunday morning at 7 a.m. after that storm, and 7 a.m. they're out there pulling trash off of the terraces and chipping them, and they were so thorough. They were picking up little twigs in the street, making sure that the terraces were clean. They did an awesome job, and I know there's still a big job ahead, but you have really, all of you, been really, really supportive of our neighborhood, and I just wanted to thank you personally.
Thank you so much for calling in and sharing your experiences with our very capable and responsive city staff.
You bet. Thanks now. Bye-bye.
Yep, bye-bye. On that note, yeah, I think we've already said our thanks to the last meeting, but no, seriously, I've heard from so many other people, not only neighbors to Mrs. Kolkema and others, there's so many other people that have been appreciative of the city's response and being quick and thorough. So thank you, man. And I know you were personally out there, Mr. Manager, evaluating, assessing, and getting people out to respond. So thank you. Anyone else wanted to phone in? That number is 231-724-6721.
I guess I'll just kind of chime in on that comment too. The public works staff was and continues to be amazing in their response. They really pulled people in from all over their entire division to help with the work that was being done there, as did public safety. And the coordination that we've had with county emergency management through Renee Gavin and what she brings to the table at the county has really helped us to step up our response countywide. And we did declare at the county level a state of emergency, and we're looking countywide at those entire expenses to get information to the state that maybe we can get reimbursed for some of those costs as it relates to that. And also our utility partners as well. We've got Jonathan Wilson here from DTE, who's a Muskegon resident, and our utility partners have been great as well. So it's truly a team effort.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, no further callers?
No, Mayor.
All right. Who's prepared to? Vice Mayor St. Clair.
I move to go into closed session to discuss material exempt from disclosure under the attorney-client privilege MCL 15.2431G pursuant to MCL Section 8H of the Open Meetings Act and Section 8E of the Open Meetings Act to discuss trial or settlement strategy with legal counsel in connection to the Joe Hawthorne versus City of Muskegon lawsuit pending in Muskegon Circuit Court, because discussion of the open records will have a detrimental financial effect on the litigating or settlement position of the City of Muskegon and its employees and officials.
Support.
All right, motion by Vice Mayor St. Clair, supported by Commissioner Gorman. Roll call, please.
Commissioner German?
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman?
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin?
Yes.
Vice Mayor St. Clair?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kogo?
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Thank you.